Now, people across the country are waiting for a verdict and the possibility of more protests.
Fox 12's Bridget Chavez spoke with a local legal expert and joins us now with a live breakdown of the charges Chauvin faces, along with some disturbing things that have been happening tonight in Portland. Bridget?
Yeah, guys, just about an hour ago, Portland police declared this an unlawful assembly. There were about 80 or so people that marched up here to the North Precinct from Woodlawn Park. You can see just the damage here. This is the Boys and Girls Club. It looks like they threw either a rock or some sort of brick through these. And I don't know if you can hear that, guys, but it's actually the glass just crackling. We've been hearing that the last few minutes that we've been here. Several of these windows are damaged. Up and down at Martin Luther King, there's grocery stores, an auto shop, all with smashed windows. And like you mentioned, this is just what we're seeing, and they haven't even given a verdict yet. Now, Derek Chauvin is facing 3 separate charges for the murder of George Floyd, and the law professor I spoke with says these charges are essentially steps up in severity. They range from second-degree manslaughter up to second-degree murder. As 12 jurors deliberate the case against Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer accused of killing George Floyd last year, they have 3 counts to consider. Chauvin is charged with second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. Tung Lin, a law professor at Lewis and Clark Law School, explains that each charge requires different elements of proof as to whether Chauvin caused Floyd's death and whether his actions were reasonable. The most severe charge Chauvin faces is second-degree murder, and Tin says this statute defines this as causing the death of a human being without intent to cause that death while attempting to or committing another felony. In this case, Tin says the other felony would be third-degree assault.
Even if Derek Chauvin did not intend to kill George Floyd, if the jury finds that he did intend to commit third-degree assault by putting his knee on the back of his neck, and that was the cause of George Floyd's death, then that could be sufficient to constitute second-degree murder.
Chauvin is also charged with third-degree murder, which Tin says is an act that is essentially very dangerous and highly likely to cause death.
They simply would have to find that when he put his knee on the back of George Floyd's neck, that act itself was so dangerous that it would be highly likely to result in death.
And finally, the lesser of the 3 charges, Chauvin is charged with second-degree manslaughter. Tin says this is intentional conduct that the defendant may not have intended to be harmful, but that a reasonable person recognizes having a strong probability of causing death.
Here, it's a little bit broader in scope than third-degree murder, because now we're not talking about a highly dangerous act that is highly likely to cause death of others, but instead an act where the defendant doesn't intend it to have these consequences, but which other people would look at it and say, that seems like it is reasonably likely to have these bad consequences.
As all eyes are once again on Minneapolis waiting for this verdict, the Rose City is also bracing for what could happen. In just the past week, Portland police have declared multiple riots. Business owners tell us they're scared they'll have to close, not only affecting the business, but more importantly, the people working there. And they're scared to speak on camera because some have been targeted before. Portland police released a statement today on the potential for protests, saying in part, quote, "Community members who wish to demonstrate are always encouraged to do so lawfully. Plans are underway for police response to any violence or criminal activity that threatens the safety of community members or public employees or public or private property. People who engage in criminal activity are subject to the use of force and arrest." The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office also told us in a statement, "We are closely monitoring the events in Minneapolis and are actively working with our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners. If a law enforcement response is needed, our priorities remain unchanged from prior demonstrations: the protection of the Justice Center, which houses the Multnomah County Jail, a 24-hour facility, and the protection of life safety and of critical Multnomah County infrastructure." You can see right here, Portland police are still staged outside of the North Precinct, and they've blocked off this area with a police line. So far, we've seen most of the people from that group from Woodland Park leave the area. There were a few stragglers here, but most of them have left. Now, we also did reach out to Governor Kate Brown's office to see if she plans to activate the National Guard when that verdict does come out, but have not yet heard back. Reporting live in Northeast Portland, Bridget Chavez, Fox 12 Oregon.